Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Everything eosDAC. I'm Brandon Cummings, a content creator and member of eosDAC. In today's episode, we have Pramod from the eosDAC launch team on. So without further ado, hey guys, I have Pramod, aka Morty, from the eosDAC launch team with me today. Pramod, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey Brandon, thanks for having me here. How are you
Yeah,
doing today?
doing pretty good, man. Excited to get another interview in for Everything eosDAC.
I'm as excited as you are.
All right, man, let's jump into this. I'd like to give our audience a chance to get to know you a bit. So, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started with eosDAC?
Sure. My name is Pramod and I'm 31. I live in Paris. I have a background in video games design, specifically in game systems and game economy design, and a little bit of project management and QA. I discovered cryptocurrencies when I was in college in year about 2011 2012, where I, along with another friend of mine, started mining Bitcoin on our college lab computers without really knowing what we were doing. And we ended up losing our months of mining of Bitcoin earnings because after we graduated to the next year, the college had to format all the computers and we had no clue what we were doing at that point, so we lost everything that we mined.
Oh,
So
man,
yeah, but it was a really great experience for us at that time.
I can
But
imagine.
yep, but it wasn't until October last year where I got my skin in the game and invested my own savings into crypto. So I've got about 30% of my savings invested in crypto. So yeah, how I got to know about EOS and EOS DAC. I moved to Paris in December and I was very excited about the cryptocurrency scene over here. Although it's not that great, but there were small events happening here and there. I first learned about EOS on a Steemit meetup that I attended here in the month of Jan. Then I started digging deep into EOS, starting to know how it works, about its tech, and learned about what block producers are. And I heard about EOS DAC announcing its block producer candidacy on Steemit and the early airdrop in April. So since it was kind of very interesting for me at that time because I was just looking for any cryptocurrency projects where I could find some airdrops and make some quick money. And honestly, with eosDAC, I was just in it at the beginning for the airdrop. So, like most of us in the community, started as community members where we got into the eosDAC Telegram, started inquiring about what's the airdrop about and asking questions about the airdrop. And then in no time, I found myself helping others with the same questions that I had. And I guess that grabbed attention of some of the early launch team members at that time in eosDAC, and they invited me to join the launch team as a community admin to keep doing what I was doing to answer queries of people who ask questions about airdrop and eosDAC and EOS and stuff. And at the same time, while I was into the community management with the eosDAC at the start, the same time I was also working on a R&D side project on a thesis on video games and blockchain. And as I had some inside news about some big AAA studio exploring game dev opportunities using blockchain tech, I was like, wow, I should really stick into EOS DAC and see how far it goes because I was learning so much in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so this encouraged me to learn and explore more about various blockchain tech and their protocols and how each one of them could be used and could be efficient in game development. I still haven't started this paper as my research was interrupted, but in a very good way when I discovered EOS and EOS DAC in April. And since then, I have been very heavily invested with EOS DAC.
I see. So it sounds like you kind of dabbled in the space a little bit, like just testing it with a little bit of mining. That kind of got wiped out. Um,
Yep.
but then, after coming across EOS and eosDAC, it sounds like you finally went down the rabbit hole. And like a lot of us, the aspect of like increasing your wealth is what kind of gets us in there first. Like, okay, where can I get the
Right.
airdrops? How can I, be invested in things that are going to, increase my stake in this? But then eventually, the people that I've found that are interested in the underlying tech always stick around. So for you, you found that by like organically getting invited to the team just by providing value. And, they
Right.
recognize that and invited you in there. And that kind of like has now set you on this path, it sounds like.
Yep. You summarized that really well. At that time, I was really looking for any projects that was doing airdrops. Like I would go on Reddit and subreddit airdrops and subscribe for every airdrop that is out there.
It's such a fascinating model, man. It's so different
Yeah.
from just an ICO where you throw money into something. Instead, with an airdrop, if you hold a specific token like EOS, for example, you
Right.
get that value. And some people they just sell it right away. But I mean, if it's a good project, some of these airdrops I'm trying to hold on to because I'm hoping someday that they're gonna come to fruition. Because right now, a lot of the airdrops that have currently happened are pretty early on in their development. I don't think we're going to see much from them until at least 2019. But
Mhm.
airdrops are pretty cool, man. I love them.
It's like collecting something for me. What do you get when you enroll for an airdrop or when you do these small social tasks? You get about 100 or 200 or maximum 500 of their tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just like collecting these tokens. I mean, I don't even invest more after I try to grab as many airdrops I can, even no matter how small number of tokens I'm receiving, but I just like to collect them.
Yeah, it can be pretty
And
addicting to
and
watch
then
your
when I
portfolio.
find right, and then when I find a project that sounds really promising, that's when I try to invest in them.
It's a smart tactic, man. I like it.
Yep.
Okay, so moving back to DAX, what excites you about DAX?
That's a really interesting question. I guess what really excites me about DAX is their limitless applications in our current world and systems that can single-handedly disrupt centralization and end some real-world problems like corruptions due to centralization, trusting a third party that you don't want to trust, or even maybe poor banking infrastructure. I really look forward to the day when someday we will have nations adopting the DAX model to run the government.
I would love to see governments just experimenting with DAX, just see if it really does improve the efficiency and it makes people happier. I'd love to see
Right.
that. So before we get into our main topic today, I'd love to ask you a little fun question. What do you do for fun
Oh
or
wow,
any
fun
hobbies you might
questions.
have?
I like fun questions. Like I said, I have a background in video games, so I'm also an avid gamer. I play a lot of video games. However, from the last past 5 months, I have not been playing the kind of games that I used to play. Apart from that, recently I've started kickboxing. In just 1 week, I have already specialized in taking punches and getting beaten up. A lot more, a lot more specialization to do there, certainly. Um, I also love making games. I've been working on a dance game project on Unreal Engine 4 as a side project. So I do it for fun whenever I get time. I've been working on this little side project for about a year now. Whenever I have some time, I spend some time on it.
Cool,
So,
man. That sounds like a good segue into our topic today. I'd like to talk about how we can increase the amount of active eosDAC users. I think gamification is something that engages a lot of us. We see it every day, like in the places we go to, whether you're like getting coupons or like rewards
mhm,
points with traditional systems, and even some big
right,
legacy companies, using gamification techniques to
right.
increase collaboration and teamwork. So, how can we increase the amount of active eosDAC users? What are some things we can employ?
That's a very good question. So if we look at our Telegram community across all languages that we have a community for, we are about 10K community members across all regions, and we are about 88K token holders. But where are all these people? I don't see enough noise or commotion happening in our community. The amount of noise that happens in our Telegram or Discord is just not doing justice to these numbers. So where are all the token holders? So it's clear that we are not really engaging very well as a community, and certainly gamification could be the key, and we could fix this by gamifying certain elements of our DAC. Sure, we can do a lot of contests and run bounty programs. But if you notice, all of this is just good to attract new members. And they aren't really helpful to keep the members engaged. What happens after the bounty program or the contest is over? We lose engagement again. The same kind of activity that we had during our naming contest, the number of people that joined us during this contest was about 15 to 20 people joining the community, our Discord community every day to put in their entries. So, and once that stopped, the new members stopped coming as well. So that's the kind of risk that we put into when we do these programs, and when they stop, the engagement stops as well. So
Just to clarify for the audience, that was a naming contest, correct? That you had set up.
right.
Could
Yeah.
you describe a little bit of like the details of that to get some context?
Yeah, sure. So what you had to do was set up a EOS account name with the eosDAC in it, like eosDACify or something like that, or eosDAC One Love, or I don't know if that makes any sense, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So, and the community would vote for the names that they found catchy. So we've already announced the winners for this contest. I guess you won. You won one place also, right, in the first 10.
Yeah, I think I got fourth place. I had
Oh, fourth.
I think so. I'll have
Oh,
to double
wow.
check.
What was your account name?
EOS Fractal DAC.
EOS Fractal DAC. How deep is that?
Pretty deep, man. There was a lot more fun ones though, like eosDAC Lambos, eosDAC
Yeah.
Legends. Those are pretty cool too. I usually go for the deeper stuff, but it doesn't always click with everybody. But I'm glad it got some love.
Right.
So that contest got
Right.
almost 15 plus people to join per day, which is pretty cool. But then you were mentioning, like, how do we capture those new people? How do we get them to continually engage outside of the contest?
Right. So engagement demands a proper system that needs to be continuous, and it should have some continuous rewards, either intrinsic or extrinsic, and the system needs to be scalable. So when we have more members joining in, when the engagement increases, we'll need these systems to be scalable in such a way that we can continue with the same system without having to tweak a lot. So in the past, I've had some ideas that I briefly discussed with Andrew on one of our operations calls for gamifying the DAC. But how do we do that, and what is actually gamification? So with gamification, we just try to use some game mechanics in a non-game context. It is not really supposed to turn work into games, but uh, it's just a method used for better learning and better engagement. It plays on the psychology that drives human engagement, the drive to complete something, the drive to complete a task, or to compete with someone, or to improve, or to do something to get rewarded instantly. So you can take this analogy of it's like the carrot on the stick that keeps the rabbit chasing, you see.
Right, right. So it kind of
So
taps into our brain's reward mechanisms through dopamine and
right.
engage our natural instincts towards competition, exploration, curiosity.
Right. So, with regards to gamifying DAC, there are numerous ways to gamify a DAC, and this can directly be integrated with our DAC toolkit. So, just a disclaimer: all these gamification ideas that I'm bringing out here, they may or may not be included. So, don't just quote me on this that this will be on the DAC toolkit. So these are just some of my ideas. So I discussed this briefly with Andrew about how we could gamify the DAC, and and surprisingly, as a DAC, we've got all elements that we need in order to be a gamified DAC, and all of this can be integrated into our DAC toolkit. There's already a very thin layer of gamification on our Discord server, which may not be noticed that well as it's running in the background. So for all the activity that you do on our Discord server, you are gaining experience points through which the members on Discord rank up on our Discord servers. And every rank up is supposed to unlock a reward in terms of features that you can access within Discord.
Okay.
So
So
within
right
our
now,
server.
just by engaging in the Discord server, like talking to people, stuff like that, you're accumulating points.
Right. You're gaining experience points, and that's allowing you to rank up. And each time you rank at an increment of 10, there are some features that are getting unlocked for you on Discord. For instance, when you just start, okay, it's just an example. It's not into practice right now because we had some problems with some permissions, so we had to roll back everything. But what I had initially thought was when someone joins our Discord server, the only thing that they are allowed to do is to chat or maybe do a voice when required. But they are not allowed to send links, they are not allowed to send GIFs, they may not be allowed to add reactions. But as they rank up, as they have more and more activity, they gain experience points and they move up in ranks, these features start to get unlocked for them slowly. So when you reach a point where on our Discord we've got roles like newbie, novice, supporter, contributor, energizer, magnet, vice one, DAC influencer, eosDAC guru, eosDAC legend. Oh wow, did this name come from there? The one who won the contest. So we've got roles like these, and these are purely meant for the Discord server gamification. So we already have a very thin layer of gamification going on our Discord. And so Discord activity can be one of the variables that could be gamified. And similarly, everything else that we do in the DAC can be gamified like that. Like for instance, someone submitting a worker proposal, upon completion of the worker proposal, he gets X number of points. And when someone votes for custodians, they get X number of points. If they continuously keep voting for the custodians, they get a certain badge which says that okay, this guy has been voting for custodians for a very long time. So it creates like it's like an achievement that you've unlocked, like if you've been voting continuously for let's say a month, so that
Mm-hmm.
means you voted for a period of you voted 4 times in a month because our voting happens weekly. So you might get a badge that would say that this guy votes regularly. So things like this are something that you can, they are sort of an intrinsic nature which doesn't have any real value to it, but it means a lot to you or to the community that you are in. If a badge like, I don't know, like 100% voter badge, for example, for someone who's voted every time, it could mean that the guy has some importance in the community or is concerned about having the right kind of custodians, and that is why he's voting regularly. So things like badges and achievements can also help to gamify the DAC.
Yeah, so kind of like tapping into, reward mechanisms and then also giving people a chance to display their merit kind of within the community. Like, what are some of the things
Right,
they've accomplished, versus someone who's just coming in. Like, okay, I can see John over here. He's been voting for several months. It looks like he's, pretty high rank in the Discord server. He must be engaging a lot of people, which could
right,
encourage other people even to reach out to him. Like, oh, he must be someone within the community that has an
right.
understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, so these rewards can either be purely intrinsic, or we can have some timely events where we also give out some tokens, which will be like extrinsic rewards. But what we would want to do is mostly have intrinsic reward tied up with player profiles, and display their badges and achieve, not player profiles but member profiles, and then display their badges and achievements on their profile, just like you have in any video game, you see. Some can even be some rewards can even be sort of bonus multipliers for rewarding registered members, or for their participation in the DAC. So when we are about to distribute profits, so based on what kind of activity you've had in the DAC, you could have some bonus multipliers for getting profits from the DAC.
Cool, man. So, speaking to the psychology behind gamification, we need a way to motivate them, right? So the person has to want to perform the action. They have to have the ability to do so or believe they do. And then there needs to be like a trigger, so the person is triggered to do the
Right.
behavior through like some type of cue or reminder or call to action. And it sounds like what you've mentioned so far is a good, like, especially what we have with the Discord server, sounds like a good base layer. And I'd love to see some profiles come into place where people can like be motivated, like, okay, I'd like to earn this badge. It's pretty simple. All I
Right.
need to do is vote with my tokens. I have the ability to do so. And then the trigger, like reminding people, is I think it's going to be a little bit tricky. That this comes back to when we set out some type of gamification or contest or something. How do we keep them coming back? Like, what's the cue that keeps them coming back?
For any engagement, I think what the biggest trigger over here will be a competitive trigger. You see, if someone wants, let's say, a XYZ badge, and it can only be unlocked if you have completed a worker proposal successfully or completed 10 worker proposals successfully, then you would think about adding value towards the DAC by submitting your worker proposal, making sure that you finish them on time.
Okay, so we've talked about
So,
how we can increase the
yep.
amount of active eosDAC users through gamification. Did you want to mention anything else about the motivational psychology behind gamification? I know I mentioned briefly about three things: having the motivation, having the ability, and then having some type of trigger. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Not really. I think what I wanted to say was the competition over here could be the biggest trigger that would bring people back and sort of encourage them to keep engaging with the DAC. Because when you really get into that gamer mindset and you see that someone else has got more achievements, uh, or or a higher level badge than you, then you want to get those badges too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a kind of a motivating factor for people to keep engaging with the DAC when you bring gamification into play.
Cool. I can't wait to see some of that roll out. Like, is this something that you're kind of working on yourself? Do you have anyone else that you're consulting with
No,
this?
it was just an idea, and I would like to see if someone in the community would want to explore this area with me. I haven't pitched this idea to anyone. I wanted to start documenting all of it, but
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't had the time to do all of that.
Okay, I'm sure we'll have someone who's interested in helping out with that.
Yeah,
Cool.
maybe you can join forces with me to help me with that.
Perhaps we should continue the discussion when we're
Yep.
done. Cool. So that's awesome. So gamification, that sounds like a great way we can increase the amount of eosDAC users, or at least a great start. It sounds like something we should definitely explore.
Yep.
Something else our audience might be interested in is talking about some of the upcoming things that's going on with eosDAC, like custodian voting. I've been asking people that come on questions about this just to kind of get just general opinions from people. What type of skill sets do you think a custodian boards should possess?
Right, that's a very good question because soon we are going to have our custodian voting and contracts ready, and soon after that we'll even start the vote. The votings will start happening. So I'm sure everyone should be aware of what kind of custodians we would want and what kind of skills they should be possessing. So one thing that we should remember is that it's not only about the tech, but there are a lot of other factors that we want to take care of. Like, I think a solid board should have members from all sort of domains like tech, design, art, even PR,
Mm-hmm.
banking, marketing, management, and whatnot. So having a team only of devs is not the right way to go about it. We need a mix of everything.
Right.
So, and like not everyone can be good at everything. Some may be very good at representing the DAC to the public and become the face of the DAC, and others may be very good at making the DAC work, like doing all the operation work and doing what's actually happening in the background. So we need all sort of people.
So essentially, the role of a custodian is to approve or deny worker proposals, but we need those custodians to have a diverse set of skill sets um,
Right.
to like make things run smoothly. That's what it sounds like.
Right, because um, if you don't have a board of custodians where one of them is an artist, for example, or has some knowledge in design and art, then it will become very hard for the other custodians who are maybe from the tech or the banking or from the marketing domain to know what really the deliverable is, or to judge the deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it is the more people we see from different domains in our custodian board, the better it will be.
It's a great answer. Appreciate that. So,
Thanks.
what are some roles you're interested in within the DAC?
That's a very good question, but unfortunately, I might not have a very satisfactory answer for you for this one. For now, I feel like when I'm with eosDAC, I feel like I'm in a game lobby of a game like Dota or League of Legends, and everyone is calling out their roles. Like, I'm going top, I'm going mid, and I'm like, I'll fill whatever role that's available.
Dude, that's an
So
important role because so many people
yeah,
are like, I want to do this. I want to carry my team, and they're not
yeah,
really flexible and like, okay, well, we have someone going top, we have a carry. We need someone to be a support, you know?
yeah, yeah. But you should know that I mostly play support roles when I play MOBAs. But yeah, anyway, I joined eosDAC as a community admin. Then I started working with the ops team to help build efficient systems within eosDAC and deciding the kind of tools that we use for our day-to-day operations. And then from there, I started liaising with the exchanges. I've even created logos for eosDAC at various occasions. I did multiple artworks and posters, and now I'm into doing some event management for eosDAC. So I've taken so many roles within the DAC so far. So I'm just here to fill whatever role that's available and whatever fits me. So there are so many rules to choose from, and I guess that's the beauty of the DAC, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's not just one role where you can fit, and you will see yourself as a fit in multiple domains if you want to add value to the DAC. So if you can find a role for yourself, you can get that role.
Well, that's a really beautiful point. I love that. Yeah, with the worker proposal system, you're not
Yep,
just locked into something, so you can see an area that the DAC needs help in, and you can try it. You can do your best, and you
exactly.
can have a level of proficiency in it. But then, like, if you see something else that comes up, and you think that you can do a good job at it, you can submit a work proposal for that too. So that's a really
Right.
good point.
Yep.
Cool. So before we wrap things up here, I'd like to ask you a little fun question. If you were given a grant to launch a DAC, what's a DAC you would like to help spawn and why?
hmm I would love to make a DAG instead, a DAG, a decentralized autonomous game. Just kidding. But
Interesting.
uh, but imagine a community-owned decentralized MMORPG game where the players, the community members get to decide the features, modes, and economy of the game, and you can have in-game marketplace to trade user-created content, which could range from anything from weapons to cosmetics and consumables that can be used in the game, and you sell all of this for in-game currency, and this currency in outside can also have value in fiat. So yeah, that's the kind of DAC I would like to build, because I've got a background in video games. So you can even think of your game design document being the constitution, and the community gets to choose the uh, overseers or the custodians,
Mm-hmm.
and the overseers are responsible for keeping the game up, and they can sort of accept a worker proposal from the community to keep the game running.
That's really cool. I think games are going to be huge on EOS, and having a DAC or a DAG model of one would be pretty cool. It would encourage
Yep.
a lot of people to participate in like the direction of where it's going. And I think there's one I can think of. I think it's SFEOS that kind of has a similar vision to what you're doing. So I would recommend people go check that out. I think they have a similar model to where they have like an in-game currency that you can use to trade resources, but then it can also be used on an open exchange. And I think you
Yeah.
can also kind of decide the direction of where it's going. So I think there would be a lot
Right.
of niches, game plot modes where you could have that type of setup. So that's really cool, man.
Right. What are they called? SFEOs?
Yeah, check out SFEOS. I know they're still under development. They don't have a product out yet, but you can like check out their like white paper and their website and kind of how they plan on doing things. It sounds very similar to what you're saying. I think they're on a similar path
Wow, sounds interesting. I should definitely check them out.
for sure. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap this up, man. It's been great to have you on the show today, Pramod.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me. Really, it was a pleasure talking to you. I ever since your podcast started, I was wondering when you're going to invite me.
Well, it's cool. You're the second guest on the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So, who do you have lined up for the next shows? Did you plan anything on that yet?
You know what? It's actually pretty open. I'm hoping, let's see, it's September 13th as we're recording this. I'm hoping that maybe other people within the community that are thinking about having a position as in the custodian board
Oh,
would
yeah.
want to come on because I mean that's coming up so soon. I'm sure people in the audience want to hear like what people have to say, like what people are going to be interested in fulfilling this role. So.
Right. I think it makes sense to get custodians or the custodian candidates up on your show and help them to let the people know their vision for DAC. So it's a really great way for them to engage with the community.
Yes, well said. That's exactly what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So where can
Great.
people keep up with you?
Oh, I'm always on Discord. You'll see me online all the time. I'm there on Telegram as well. My Discord handle is RT1818 and my Telegram is Paplu.
Yeah, perfect. I'll put how people can get in touch with you in the video description. Thanks so much for joining, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thanks.
Hmm.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Everything eosDAC, where I had the pleasure to interview Pramod from the eosDAC launch team. If you like this content, please give it a rating on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you might be listening, and leave a comment on what you would like to see in future episodes or any questions you would like to have answered. And with that, I'll see you all in the next episode.